Hello, General Hospital today will reveal speculation surrounding General Hospital has always thrived on twists, but recent developments regarding Drew Kane have ignited a wildfire of intrigue unlike anything we've seen in years. With the January 29th, 2026 update surfacing online, a new and unnerving question has been raised. Is the Drew we've been watching actually Drew Kane at all, or is he a sophisticated technological forgery? The idea that the former Navy SEAL hero has been replaced by a clone or replicated through some advanced form of bioengineering or mind control technology is no longer just soap fanfiction. It's just becoming one of the most buzzed about theories in daytime television. This version of Drew has, for quite some time, confounded longtime fans. He no longer resembles the calm, emotionally grounded, morally upright man who once put others before himself. In his place, we've seen a cold, calculating figure, at times shockingly callous, at other times disturbingly inert, whose relationships seem more transactional than genuine. It's easy to argue that Drew's transformation into his unlikable figure was a slow burn descent. But what if it wasn't a character development at all? What if it was an intentional cover-up for something far more sinister? A body double, a mind transplant, or even a genetic clone designed to play a role? Central to this theory is the chilling possibility that Congressman Sidwell, known for his shadowy ties to biotech firms and military contracting, may have had the means and motive to replicate Drew. The technology to create synthetic identities, implant memories, or manipulate consciousness has been a subtle but present undercurrent in General Hospital lore before. But this time, the storyline appears to be confronting the implications head-on. Could Sidwell have had access to Drew's DNA from previous WSB files, used it to replicate him, and programmed this artificial version of Drew with objectives that serve a secret agenda? And if so, what happened to the real Drew? Adding fuel to this fire is Drew's toxic and almost surreal marriage to Willow Kane, a woman whose love story with him was questionable from the beginning, but now has descended into dangerous territory. Willow is not only suspected of contributing to his debilitating stroke, but she's done so with what appears to be premeditated precision. For a woman who once confessed to care deeply for him, this calculated cruelty suggests a deeper rift, or a possible hidden motive. It's no wonder that some fans have ceased to view her actions as villainous and now see them as desperate moves to escape a man who may not even be human anymore. Could Willow have discovered the truth that the man in her bed is not Drew, but something else entirely? Let's not forget that Drew's recent paralysis is not only a physical plot device, it may serve as the perfect smokescreen. A character trapped in their own body, unable to speak or move, is a classic soap setup for secrets to stew beneath the surface. Viewers are left watching the reactions of those around him more than Drew himself. But if he is a clone, or worse, a lab-designed puppet, then the inability to express himself could be part of a larger scheme. Concealment until the mission is complete. The show's writers may be laying the groundwork for a devastating reveal in which the real Drew is alive, held somewhere in isolation, while the current Drew is nothing more than an engineered substitute executing Sidwell's long-term manipulation plan. There's also the growing question of Drew's estrangement from characters who once formed his emotional core. He's shown minimal emotional depth when interacting with key figures like Sam, Monica, or even Scout. Instead of reaching for reconnection, he's drifted further into isolation, often making choices that clearly sabotage his closest relationships. His alliance with Willow, despite her past attempts to end his life, only deepens the suspicion. Why would a man with Drew's moral compass willingly bind himself to a woman who has tried to destroy him twice? Unless, of course, this Drew lacks that compass entirely. The writing on the wall, to some fans, is no longer metaphorical. It's literal. The timeline, the personality shifts, the unexplained health deterioration, the lack of emotional resonance, it's all pointing toward a bait-and-switch narrative that may ultimately redefine the arc of not just Drew, but the entire Sidwell conspiracy that has loomed in the background and of General Hospital for months. And if this theory holds water, then Sidwell's role expands from political agitator to full-on bioengineered puppeteer. What better way to infiltrate the power structures of Port Charles than to manipulate them from the inside, using familiar faces to do the dirty work? A potential clue comes in the form of Sidwell's silence. Despite Drew's sudden and severe health decline, Sidwell, who once touted his alliance with Drew in public forums, has offered no visible concern. Could this be because he knows exactly what's happening, that the Drew now incapacitated in a hospital bed is a failed prototype or a controlled asset gone rogue? If Sidwell created him or had him created, would he not also know how to terminate or replace him if necessary? From a narrative standpoint, the possibilities are rich with dramatic payoff. A late-stage reveal where Willow discovers evidence that Drew was cloned, perhaps through a stolen vial of DNA, or through a confrontation with the dying Sidwell, would send shockwaves through every tier of Port Charles society. It would force characters like Sam and Jason to reevaluate everything they thought they knew. It would blow open the storyline for Willow, transforming her from suspicious wife to tragic whistleblower. Most importantly, it would restore the agency and emotional weight to a character who has been narratively sidelined for too long. So the question stands, is the real Drew Kane still out there, and if so, what condition is he in, and how long has he been gone? More unsettlingly, is the Drew we've been watching part of a wider experiment in identity theft and psychological warfare, fans across? Online forums and fan pages are dissecting every frame, every whispered line, every reaction shot for clues. The anticipation is growing and the speculation is only intensifying. If General Hospital is indeed preparing to pull the trigger on this clone switch twist, it may end up being one of the most ambitious and emotionally layered arcs in its recent history. It not only speaks to modern anxieties about AI surveillance and identity, but also brings back the classic soap opera flavor of long-lost doubles, dark agendas, and shocking resurrections. As we await the next moves from Sidwell, Willow, and the immobilized Drew, one thing becomes clear. Nothing in Port Charles is ever what it seems, and the truth might be buried deeper than we ever imagined. Soap operas have long thrived on the outrageous, the kind of narrative sleight of hand that bends the rules of biology, psychology, and even reality itself. They pull viewers into a world where memory loss is common, comas last for years, and the dead routinely rise again. But among the most iconic and unsettling tropes is the use of doppelgangers and impersonators, imposters planted to wreak havoc from within. And right now in General Hospital, all signs point to the possibility that Drew Kane is not the man he claims to be. The idea may sound far-fetched, but within the context of Port Charles, it's just plausible enough to send shivers down the spine. The alarm bells started ringing after Drew's release from Pentonville. Fans who had waited for his return found themselves confronted not with the hero they remembered, but with a cold, a distant shell of a man whose personality seemed rewritten, almost overwritten. While it's true that prison can harden even the softest soul, Drew's transformation went far beyond what could be explained by trauma alone. His entire emotional rhythm was off, his words too measured, his connections too forced, his behavior verging on sociopathic ingestion. It was as if he had studied how to be Drew Kane rather than simply being him. This disconnect has led many viewers to re-examine the circumstances of Drew's imprisonment and his time out of sight. Could a hostile force have taken advantage of his isolation to implement a more nefarious plan? In a town teeming with secret laboratories, twisted scientists, and unethical corporations, it's hardly out of the realm of possibility that Drew was replaced, or worse, replicated while behind bars. The notion of a body double or genetically engineered clone is not only on the table, it's quickly becoming a central is-costed theory among those tracking the show's growing conspiracy arc. At the center of that theory is the manipulative duo of Jen Sidwell and Ross Cullum. These two men, bound together by something deeper than business, perhaps even shared criminal ideology, have been circling Drew's all storyline like vultures for months. Their involvement in illegal biotech operations has never been proven outright, but rumors of unauthorized cloning and identity manipulation have followed them like a foul stench. If anyone had the access, resources, and ethical depravity to pull off a switch, it would be them. And their friendship, nearly fraternal in nature, makes them the perfect cover for one another's crimes. More than once, Sidwell has demonstrated a strategic interest in individuals with sensitive information or unique skill sets, especially those with ties to intelligence operations like Drew's SEAL background. It's not difficult to imagine Sidwell identifying Drew as a prime target either for exploitation or experimentation. And with Drew incarcerated and largely forgotten by the outside world, the timing would have been ideal for such a substitution. What if the man who emerged from Pentonville wasn't Drew at all, but a fully formed counterfeit equipped with key memories, approximated speech patterns, and a simulated emotional range? The idea becomes more compelling when we consider how erratic and contradictory Drew's behavior has been since his release. He married Willow Kane, a woman who had previously tried to end his life not once but twice. Their relationship defies logic, emotional continuity, and even basic self-preservation instincts. It feels like an arrangement rather than a romance, a performance rather than a partnership. Could it be that this new Drew lacks the depth, pain, and experience of the real man, and instead operates on programmed behaviors or external directives? Willow's actions too suggests she may have uncovered something unsettling. Her decision to orchestrate a medical crisis that left Drew with locked-in syndrome, rendering him unable to speak or to move, seems both calculated and desperate. If she believed the man in front of her was not the real Drew, perhaps she saw this act not as murder, but as containment. But what exactly did she learn, and when? And why hasn't she shared this discovery? If true, guilt threats, or perhaps she is being watched as well. Part of a larger surveillance web constructed by Sidwell and his collaborators. There's also the glaring absence of emotional reconnection. The Drew who once prioritized his daughter Scout now barely acknowledges her. He shows no interest in revisiting bonds with Monica or Jason, no urge to rebuild trust or repair relationships. It's as though the scaffolding of his former self is still there, but the substance has been hollowed out. And it's not just the audience noticing. Characters within the show have expressed concern. Though in typical soap fashion, their suspicions have yet to be fully realized. What makes this scenario so chilling is that it mirrors real-world conversations about identity, surveillance, and technology. In an age where artificial intelligence can mimic speech and deepfakes can manufacture digital versions of real people, the idea of human cloning, though still science fiction, feels increasingly near. Within General Hospital, where the line between medicine and madness has always been paper-thin, such a twist wouldn't just be plausible, it would be hauntingly effective. If this is the direction the writers are taking, it's a masterstroke in misdirection. The audience, lulled into watching Drew's decline as a personal tragedy, may soon be forced to confront it as a manufactured deception. And when the real Drew inevitably returns, held hostage, amnesiac, or brainwashed, the fallout will be seismic. Willow may find herself accused of harming a stranger. Scout may have to choose between the man she knows and the man who truly is her father. And Port Charles itself may once again become ground zero for a war waged not with bullets but with identities. The question now is not just who Drew is, but who is behind Drew. If Sidwell and Cullum are indeed orchestrating a grand impersonation scheme, what's their endgame? Political manipulation, access to military secrets, psychological warfare on the town itself? And if this is just the beginning, who else might have been replaced? The genius of General Hospital lies in its ability to reflect human fears through heightened melodrama. With this storyline, it touches on something primal, the fear of being deceived by those closest to us. The fear that someone we trust could be someone else entirely. And as this arc continues to unfold, one thing is certain, the viewers are no longer simply watching a soap, they're watching a mystery unravel before their eyes, and the final reveal might be more terrifying than anyone expects. The question now echoing through the minds of General Hospital fans isn't just whether Drew Kane has changed, it's whether he's even real. As speculation reaches fever pitch across online communities and viewer forums, a chilling possibility has taken hold. Did Willow Kane unknowingly marry a clone? It's a question that pushes the body and a cloned Willow Kane boundaries of soap opera storytelling while tapping into one of the genre's most irresistible tropes: identity, manipulation through advanced, ethically dubious science. Decades ago, Days of Our Lives stunned viewers with a groundbreaking clone storyline involving Reva, Shane, and a clone named Dolly. At the time, the premise seemed fantastical, the stuff of science fiction. But now, with real-world advancements in genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and biosimulation technology, the idea of cloning, especially in the heightened reality of Port Charles, feels not only feasible but disturbingly timely. In many ways, soaps have always served as distorted mirrors of societal fears. And General Hospital may now be holding up the mirror to one of the most primal fears of all: marrying someone who isn't who they appear to be. There is a growing suspicion among fans that Drew's current storyline isn't just a character arc about trauma or betrayal. It may be the setup to reveal that he was exposed to secretive, off-the-books experimentation during his time at Pentonville. The theory goes deeper than psychological manipulation or brainwashing. What if Drew was physically cloned, his DNA harvested, duplicated, and used to create a controllable version of the man who once posed a threat to powerful enemies like Jen Sidwell or the darker remnants of the WSB? And what if that clone, carrying enough of Drew's memories and personality to function credibly, was sent back into the world as if nothing had happened? The implications are vast and devastating. If Willow married a clone, it raises complex questions about autonomy, identity, and consent. Did she fall in love with someone who only believed he was Drew? Was her bond with him manipulated from the start? Could the erratic behavior, emotional detachment, and moral coldness that viewers have noticed in recent episodes be symptoms of an imperfect replication, a glitch in the emotional programming of a man designed, not born? These are the questions now haunting not only Willow's character arc, but the very foundation of her marriage. What's particularly haunting is how little Drew resembles the man fans once rooted for. His post-prison demeanor has shifted into something unrecognizable, withdrawn, controlling, often void of the warmth and loyalty that once defined him. His decisions, particularly his allegiance to Willow, despite her suspicious actions including her role in his medical collapse, are either a sign of deep dysfunction or eerie compliance. A clone wouldn't question danger. A clone wouldn't resist. A clone would obey. If this storyline proves true, General Hospital would not only be echoing the bold clone narratives of soap history, it would be evolving them. Instead of using cloning for simple drama or mistaken identity antics, the show appears poised to explore the psychological and relational consequences of such a violation. The horror isn't just that Drew might be a clone, it's that no one, not even Willow, recognized it, that the heart can be tricked by familiarity, and that love can be forged with an imitation. The show's writing has quietly laid breadcrumbs. Drew's lack of familial warmth towards Scout, his robotic reaction to former allies, his sudden intimacy with Willow, who was once his adversary, even his paralysis-locked-in syndrome serves as a symbolic mirror of his internal condition, alive but inaccessible. Present but mute. It's the perfect condition for concealing a deep identity secret. After all, if the clone Drew could speak, what would he say? Would he even know the truth about what he is? And then there's the elephant in the room. How did this happen? Was Drew kidnapped and experimented on while the public believed him to be merely imprisoned? Did Sidwell, in league with underground biotech engineers, use his time in Pentonville to extract DNA and build a clone from scratch? Could this be part of a wider conspiracy, one not limited to Drew, but involving other prominent figures in Port Charles who may also have been replaced, altered, or programmed? From a thematic perspective, this storyline would be a brilliant blend of old-school soap mystery with modern ethical horror. It would force characters like Willow to re-examine the very nature of their relationships. It would put Scout in emotional limbo, torn between the father she knew and the man who now wears his face. And it would open the door for a spectacular, inevitable return of the real Drew Kane, perhaps held in a hidden facility stripped of his memories, or fighting to break free and reclaim his life.